with that, so I'm glad that I was able to find a Minnesota Vikings podcaster who understands it, knows it a lot. He's great at what he does. By the way, he was able to get shout outs from Voke Lombardi up on the volume. So joining me now live via the Global Satellite Network presented by StreamYard, rap from Purple Pocket Podcast. So, I mean, to be honest, I mean that's setting up for success, right? Like you got a stacked up offense. Whoever comes in at quarterback is just going to absolutely love it. They may fix a little the offensive line, but defensively, they got to get better up at it. So let's start from the beginning. So Kevin O'Connell comes in to Minnesota, and I said this, that if Kirk Cousins and Mike Zimmer are both butting heads, then this is probably this is the look that this was not even going to work from the very beginning. They weren't on the same page. So when Kevin O'Connell comes in, now he makes Kirk Cousins more comfortable, and the rest of the offense is now starting to produce. So when you saw that, did you already have that thought in your mind? This offense is going to explode in 2022.
Yeah. So I appreciate you having me on the show too, man, on game day. You know, it's exciting. It's exciting to be on the show with you today. But yeah, definitely. I think so because, Kevin O'Connell just being a likable guy. I just think Kirk Cousins, his personality, him and Kevin O'Connell, their personalities kind of just go together. I mean, Kevin O'Connell has a Kirk Cousins jersey framed in his office from Washington. So there's a relationship that's deeper than football there. It's obviously going to play in the benefit of the quarterback when you got a coach that admires you or just looks at you as that guy. You know what I mean? So, and it's showing. I mean, he's not having his best year statistically, but we're winning. So I don't complain about it too much. You know, I rather a regular Kirk Cousins with wins on the record rather than 4,000 yards, only 3 interceptions with 30 touchdowns, but yet we're losing. So, yeah, I think it worked out perfect, and I agree with you. I think any quarterback you bring in, I think Kevin O'Connell he's going to be probably known as one of those guys that can really mold a quarterback into a good player.
Yeah, and the one big thing is, and like we looked at a bunch of coaches all throughout this year. I mean, Brian Dable is clearly a home run for the Giants. It's questionable what they do in the quarterback position, whether they do stick with Daniel Jones or they move on. But here's the other thing too is, because next season's head coaching jobs, I mean, I said it several times. I think Shane Steichen's he's very deserving of it. I mean, the offense he's put together from the Chargers and Eagles, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's great. And then we're waiting on what will happen with Eric Bieniemy. Would it be that time for him to finally get a head coaching job? So I'm seeing the rest of the league shifting offensively. They're opening up the playbooks. Offenses now are starting to really put up, a lot of these teams, they'll put up 25 plus points if they've got the right coach. They've got the right system. So seeing that, and I mean, I'm looking at Green Bay, and I'll be honest, Matt LaFleur, as much as everyone likes to think, oh, he's a genius, he's great, only when you're playing Chicago and Detroit twice a year. Like, I don't see that being impressive. Minnesota came in and socked him in the mouth in week 1 and was reminding him, we're running this division. I look at Green Bay, and I'm just like, this is not going to look good for them. They're going to go through all their spurts. They're clearly missing Devontae Adams. So seeing that and witnessing how Aaron Rodgers' season has gone. Now, he has been injured. Could we possibly see if Aaron Rodgers still does stay in this division or if he goes elsewhere? I mean, this is kind of the Minnesota Vikings grab of the division for the taking for the next 5 years. Am I right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think the tide definitely has shifted, starting this year. I mean, Kevin O'Connell being a rookie head coach too, and we're already just taking control of the division. I mean, we have full control. I mean, it's already locked up. Today's game's important because I say this is a game where we can go ahead and get our t-shirts and our hats today. So why wait? There's no need for us to wait for next week and then Detroit has to lose a game. Let's just go out there and our destiny, we control it. So let's just go out there and control it today. But Green Bay's not even a factor this year. It's a little surprising, to be honest with you, when you think about Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but they have been like 13-3 the past couple seasons. Like they've been showing they can win. So it's surprising, but I mean, I think the tide has changed though, for sure. It's Purple Nation now. We're gonna run the North, and the Lions are on the come up too, man. I agree with you on that. I think they're probably gonna be more fighting for the 1 and 2 spot for the next couple of years, hopefully, because people think I hate the Lions only because we're playing them this week. So I've been like kind of trashing them. You know, I mean, that's just the type of guy I am. You know, I'm just purple over everything. So when we play a team, I'm coming at them. Win, lose, or draw, I'm gonna pop out afterwards, anyways. But you know, realistically though, besides my character RAP doing a Vikings podcast, like I think the Lions are on the come up, man. And I think, and at the beginning of the season, I had them as being number 2 in the division. So I mean, it's working out. But today, I'm not on their side, man. Today they have to lay down. You know what I mean? For sure.
Yeah, and speaking of this game, because I mean, so to be honest, like I've said it, I do prime predictions every weekend,
Yeah.
and just to getting geared up for Sunday's game. So I did take Detroit, but the reason of it is because Jared Goff is such a home quarterback. He's comfortable when he's there at Ford Field.
Yeah.
It's weird to think it, but I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I could say Josh Reynolds is kind of a sneaky receiver. And then you're looking at the production levels on both running backs, DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. That's going to be kind of tough to contain. Now, I do have to say, as much as I do like Minnesota, and I've seen them play offensively and defensively, defense I'm a little questionable about. It kind of seems like they've let off the gas here in the last few weeks. And hopefully they can make the adjustment, because going into Detroit and a division rival game, not always as easy as people put it on paper. So what you're seeing defensively, is there a type of adjustment, and what adjustment does need to be made defensively? Because I'm like, I love the pass rush. I thought Darius Smith was such a home run pick. And then you're still having Harrison Smith, and you had Patrick Peterson there.
Right.
And I felt, okay, they'll hold their ground. But then I start to look at, well, they do kind of give up some plays and situational plays. So what is it that, you know, the defense has to do better, and especially in a division rival game like Detroit?
First of all, we need to stop the run for sure, which is good. We got Dalvin Tomlinson back, which added a big spark on our defensive line. So we definitely need to stop the run, and we need to add pressure to Goff, like you said, because they run a lot of play action too with Goff, because he's just really good off play action too. You know what I mean? He's just been, at least this year, he's been. So we just need to make sure we're in his face, because we don't blitz a lot. Like, we're a team that just doesn't blitz. We don't really run any blitz schemes or anything. We're just pretty much 4 guys, 4 down, and we're going. You know, we're trying to get to him. You know, if we get to him, we get to him. Darius Smith's been playing with an injury the past couple of weeks, though, with a knee injury. So that's probably why his production looks like it slowed down a little bit. Hopefully he's good. I know Harrison Smith is a game time decision. I think they're actually leaning to where he's not going to start today. So we'll see Josh Metellus out there from Michigan, which I really like. I mean, obviously you can't replace Harrison Smith, but I think he's good enough. Like, he got an interception on the first game we played Detroit because he had to play. You know, which is ironic that he had to actually start the first time we played Detroit this year. So he's starting again this week. And, you know, we definitely need to apply pressure on Goff. Because I think if you apply pressure on Goff, then he'll come back down to earth a little bit. But he's been playing good, man. Like you said, they score a lot of points. We don't really allow a lot of points. I know our defense looks pretty trash because, like, there's a lot of big plays we allow. Like, we play the soft coverage. We bend, don't break, and we're the exact definition of bend don't break, because we don't allow a lot of points. We just allow a lot of big yards and big plays. But, you know, as long as we play our game, though, we should be able to beat the Detroit Lions. But I agree with you. I don't blame you for thinking that Detroit's going to win at home. I mean, a lot of people, even Vegas, has us as underdogs. So, I mean, it is what it is, you know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Rab from Purple Pocket Podcast, joining me here on the show. Yeah, and it is interesting because, like, for me, I live in Vegas my entire life, and I'm a Ben guy. So whenever I'm looking at that money line, I'm like, it's got to give me some type of narrative as to why I'm leaning this way. Because listen, this season has been weird betting wise, because it's like there's not a guaranteeable game, especially if it becomes the underdog or the favorite. But if I'm getting enough points, like 2.5, I'm like, okay, that kind of gives me a little of a level playing field. So it's been so weird. And I've been trying to kind of acclimate a little more of, well, do I go for the cover or do I really like trust that they're going to put up more than 2.5? And it's going to guarantee me at least a lot of money.
Yeah.
But so let's shift to Chicago. So I know that like in the similar division,
Mhm.
um, the Bears are in a big spot to where now they are accumulating all this draft capital. They're accumulating all this money going into next year's free agency, and they're going to spend. I'll be
Mhm.
surprised if they don't. But Justin Fields clearly is their franchise quarterback.
Mhm.
And watching him now with his number one, Darnell Mooney, and now having Chase Claypool there, I
Mhm.
think that's kind of given a preview of we may see Justin Fields in the come up in the next 2 years. That's why I'm like, I didn't want to give a harsh criticism for him because of organization he's a part of. Um, just a mess and the turmoil that Chicago has been in the last few years.
Yeah.
But um, seeing this, do we kind of see that maybe this division, because Green Bay is going to go through a lot of their hurts and Detroit's going to be up on the come up too. What is it that we may see with Chicago from Minnesota's standpoint of how do they handle Justin Fields? And if in fact that they do upgrade their offense, does that kind of give that signal that Minnesota, they want to run this division, they want to shut these offenses down?
Mhm.
Is it like we know what the talent they got? We've got to shut them down on all parts of the field. So, what kind of like what's your thought process moving into next year? If Chicago really stacks up their offense, is that kind of giving the signal from Minnesota that we need to go out, we need to get somebody that's going to guarantee us division wins and getting us into the playoffs as well?
Not really. I look at Justin Fields as a decent quarterback, like, but I think they're gonna run him to the ground though. Honestly, I think they just utilize him too much with running and passing, like because he can throw the ball somewhat for me, and I think he'll get better and better and better. He just seems like a type of player that wants to get better and better, but I just think they're gonna run him into the ground, man. I see a RG3 type of outcome for Fields, and I don't wish injury on anybody. I hope he has a long career and he can play us every season until he decides to retire. But for some reason, I just have a feeling that the way they utilize him with all that running and stuff like that and taking them hits, man, he's gonna fall short eventually, man. But I was worried about him in the draft. I was like, dang, well, I hope Justin Fields don't turn into this Patrick Mahomes. Or because Aaron Rodgers, we figured was going to be on the way out of Green Bay. It was surprising that he signed back with him. We thought I really thought he was going to Denver, to be honest with you. But once I seen him, once that was the narrative for a little while, and then the Bears draft Justin Fields, and I'm like, yo, we get Aaron Rodgers out the building. Now we got to deal with Justin Fields for the next 10 years. But I don't think he's going to be that big of an issue for us, though, honestly. I just don't. I mean, I'm not a firm believer yet in Justin Fields. I think he's decent. He can run, but I think he still has to worry about making reads and stuff like that. He's really big on like still doing college reads, in my opinion. Like he first read, if it ain't there, he tries to take off or starts to panic. Not all the time, but it's still happening a little too often to be a NFL quarterback. So we'll see what happens, though, man. I'm not too worried about him.
Yeah, it takes a lot of adjustment, especially coming into, the NFL. Like it's very tough playing in the quarterback position because
Yeah.
of the offense you run. And
Mm-hmm.
then not to mention too, you're building relationships with your teammates and
Mm-hmm.
guys that you're throwing the ball to at least every single day when you're out there in practice. You're out there on the weekly schedule. So it is tough. But
Yeah.
I just look at it, I'm like, because Chicago has all this money now and they have a lot of different draft capital. If they don't use that right, yeah, they're gonna not only is it just the Vikings that are just gonna be pummeling him, but even Chicago themselves would be running him down because
Yeah.
they don't know what a franchise quarterback looks like. I mean,
Right.
they haven't had one since Jim McMahon. That's why I'm like, I mean, come on, like it's
Yeah, they struggle on the quarterback position, man. They
oh
definitely struggle. I think Justin Fields gives them a little bit of hope, though. A little bit of hope. I don't
yeah.
know, man. It's something about Ohio State quarterbacks, though, man. I know eventually one of them has to pop. I mean, come on. These guys are like throwing 50 touchdowns a season in college and all this stuff and going crazy. And then they get to the NFL and it's like, where you at, man? Like, where's all that type of play at? But
Well, see, this is why that I'm like, and I said this before that if in case whatever happens with Jared Goff in Detroit moving forward,
yeah.
I'm just saying, man. Amon-Ra St. Brown and a couple of other young, really good players on that offense.
Mhm.
I'm almost seeing this as an offense set for CJ Stroud.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
serious. I'm just like, and the head coaching position is questionable to me. I
Mhm,
do like their offensive coordinator, however. He's been
mhm.
getting a lot of really good reviews because of the amount of points they've been scoring.
Right.
But I don't know if Dan Campbell's really the guy. I just think he's very emotional, but he is somebody that I'm just like, you hold on to a lead for this long and then you're coughing it out. Like, I get a little bit scared about that.
Mhm.
But if I bring in somebody like CJ Stroud, however, who not as great in the first half in some games, but second half, he's giving me everything he's got. He's keeping
Yeah,
me in the game. So I'm like,
yeah.
I can almost see that. I mean, could we possibly see in this year's draft that if Detroit takes a quarterback, could we maybe possibly see something different if CJ Stroud's in the building?
Yeah, I think so. It'd be all right. I think he's going to be just like Justin Fields. You know what the problem is? I think with Ohio State breeds really good wide receivers. And a lot of those Ohio State quarterbacks, they don't have to make reads because their number one is going to be open 9 out of 10 times because the skill level is just that much higher than their opposing team for most of the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So they don't really have to go through progressions because they know, okay, Marvin Harrison Jr. is on the left side. That's my read. I'm throwing it regardless. I'm throwing it. You know what I mean? He's gonna be open regardless. And I think once they get in the NFL, they realize like, oh shoot, he's not open. Oh, Amon Smith or St. Brown's not open this play. I got to look to my other progressions, and then they get into a panic mode. You know what I mean? And it's something that they can learn over time and get better at. I just don't know, man. I mean, R.I.P. to Dwayne Haskins. You know, you got Justin Fields, which is still early, so we can't really judge him too much. Like I said, he's been showing some promise with his legs and stuff. And then CJ Stroud, it's just like eventually something is deeper than just these guys being so good in college. And when they get into the NFL, it just doesn't pan out as we expect it. And I think it's because the talent level of the receivers they breed. Because look at the receivers that came out of Ohio State this season, man. You got
Oh
Garrett
man,
Wilson, Olave, like,
Chris Olave. Oh yeah.
yeah. You just throw them right in, and they're just automatically making an impact because they breed good receivers at Ohio State. I don't know what it is.
I'm gonna tell you what though. I mean, if Njigba, the other receiver that's right
Mm-hmm.
there, if
Mm-hmm.
he goes to a speedy offensive type,
Yeah.
watch out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kid's gonna really produce if he's in the right platform. Because
Yeah.
man, I see him sometimes next to Marvin Harrison Jr. and I'm just like, how is it that we're not talking a whole lot about this guy?
Yeah.
This guy can get open, and when he does, he's probably a threatening force at yards after the catch. That's
Right.
why I'm
Right.
like, yeah, he deserves to be in a speedy type offense. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that. With some of those Ohio State receivers, I mean, good God.
Me and you can play quarterback in Ohio State with that, man. One read and throw it. Like one read, throw it. You know what I'm saying? Like those guys they're amazing, man. They really have a good wide receiver head. A coach must be something.
God. And it's funny. We haven't seen a deeper wide receiver class in the
Yeah.
last 2 seasons now since Justin Jefferson, Jamar
Yeah.
Chase, and several of these guys have come in this league. Like
Yeah.
it's a guarantee yet not a guarantee, but if you fit them right in the right
Mm-hmm.
system, they are going to give you those tangibles.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
they're getting paid that much and quarterbacks
Yeah.
are producing up to them. So, finally in a couple minutes, so I made my case with Caleb Williams. I think he's an unbelievable talent. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was great the fact that USC has another Heisman winner since Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
And I thought it was well deserved because first of all, Lincoln Riley, people thought, he's leaving Oklahoma. He's not going to be that good. Well, Sooner fans, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Will Venables is not that great either.
Right.
But the second Lincoln Riley came into USC, he was going to change up a lot of this offense. He was going to make them produce. I did not think he was going to make them produce this fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is incredible. But when I look at the Heisman first of all, Max Duggan, I think, is a real good quarterback with TCU. But
Mm-hmm.
I did have to hold my breath because I've seen TCU quarterbacks. I've seen Andy Dalton. And I'm like, he could play well in college, but will that transfer into the NFL level? And then
Right.
there's CJ Stroud, as I mentioned. And then there's also oh God. then you also have one other quarterback, Stetson Bennett. And
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, well, Stetson Bennett he just reminds me of AJ McCarron and Greg McElroy. He's just making the offense better for Kirby Smart. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. Like, I don't see the tangibles moving into the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could say honorable mention, Hendon Hooker is like, he's having a great year in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's unfortunate with the injury. But Caleb Williams, I can make an argument. Next year, like, and I'll be honest, could you possibly see Caleb Williams on this offense? Like, teams are seeing his talent, and they're like, "Look, I don't care if we even have to blow games out or
Yeah.
what." But I'm like, I'm looking at our future, and it's like we didn't expect this with Patrick Mahomes, and then the second he's there with Andy Reid and in Kansas City, they took a risk. Mahomes is one of the best in the game,
Right.
so could we possibly see some type of ripple effect next year? In that case, when Caleb Williams is eligible for the draft.
Yeah. I think, and this is the thing too. Speaking of the Vikings with quarterbacks and Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, I think they're definitely going to locate their guy though. I know they were brought into this organization to say, hey, you know what? Kirk was the right decision to go ahead and extend him so we can kind of, they wanted to do kind of like not a rebuild. They called it a competitive rebuild. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, let's not just blow it up over here like the Bears did. Let's try to still compete next year for the NFC North because we know Aaron Rodgers might be leaving. So this is we have a window here, and it's showing that it's working. So congratulations to them, man. Good job with the front office and just the owners and everything. But I think Kevin O'Connell and Chris, they also have an understanding like, Kirk's not getting any younger. His stats are dropping this year. That could be from just different offensive scheme, and we're winning still. So you don't want to look too deep into it, but
games.
Yeah, primetime game still. So, and I'm sure Kevin O'Connell, as a head coach and a general manager, that's like the biggest trophy you can really get other than the Super Bowl trophy is to locate your quarterback. You know what I mean? And have and draft a franchise guy that takes this franchise and they'll have jobs for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? So I think it's something that's going to happen. And Williams, man, I think he's going to go higher than what we'll be able to get him. But because he, like you said, he was a beast, man. He was a beast when he came in for Oklahoma, right? Yeah, when he played for Oklahoma. So he's a beast, man. I like his competitiveness. I actually like the guy from Florida though, the Florida Gators, Anthony. What's his name? Anthony. Yeah, Anthony Richardson. I like him.
Yeah.
I like him, and I think he'll fall down the draft, and he'll be somebody that you can probably, grab up and look at as a project. But we can get into the quarterback thing, man. I got other deeper things with quarterbacks that are in the league right now that still haven't proved themselves. That I say, why not take a chance on them? So we'll see, man. I'll get into that in the off season though, for sure.
Hey, could you imagine Green Bay's scenario in their situation is so questionable, but I'm just looking at it. I'm like, look, if Jordan Love can play,
right?
Okay, teams are going to call.
Mm-hmm.
Teams are going to literally call and inquire. I've said this. I'm like, well, Indianapolis needs a quarterback. They've been going through several other quarterbacks, and then they'll give up, picks, and then Green Bay can finally, change up with what they got, especially with the money line that they have right now.
Mm-hmm.
But oh yeah, yeah, you could go on for quarterbacks at least like for days and try to figure all that out. But it is incredible though.
It is.
The fact that they blew it up the first year was just I did not see that coming. Right. I knew they were going to be real good, but I've said it before. Utah is tough. Mm-hmm. UCLA, they might give you a handful, and then. But I wouldn't have seen him kind of going over the top like with Georgia or with you could with TCU, but then you're also looking at Ohio, several other teams, and it's like, oh man. But I think next year is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah.
But all righty. Well, thank you so much, Rap. It's always a pleasure.
Man. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Absolutely. So for all of our listeners and viewers, where can they find you of everything when you're sending out that skull chant? Where can they find you for everything Vikings?
Yeah, man. Purple Pocket Podcast on everything. It's pretty simple. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. So yeah, just Purple Pocket Podcast, man. I'm the only one. So once you type it in, you'll see my logo pop up, and the logo is right there. Y'all see it right there behind me on that picture, man. You see those 2 P's, man, double P, man. You just rock with me, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Jake, for having me on. You know what I mean? Great show, man. You know what? You got a good thing going on, man. You know your stuff. You feel me? So you definitely gonna blow up, man. I'm gonna support you from this day on for sure.
Oh man, much appreciated, brother. Thank you so
I gotta
much.
get with you on some of them bets, man. You live in Vegas, man. I need the inside job going on, man.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, prime predictions is where it's at.
Let's
I mean,
go.
that's why I'm like, yep, I'm a betting man, and I'll make sure that I got guarantees ones were there for you.
Let's go.
Thank you so much, man. Have a good
problem,
one,
man.
and good luck to the Vikings today, man.
Go Vikings, baby. Let's go.
Oh yeah, never a dull moment when it comes.